The doomsday clock stands at 85 seconds before midnight. It was set there in January 2026 by scientists who understand nuclear weapons better than anyone alive, as their honest assessment of how close humanity stands to catastrophic self-destruction, not metaphorically, literally. As the tensions in the world rise, we are at unprecedented times. Laymen will bear the brunt, but the rich will also find it hard. Economists are panicking quietly, and the scholars who study this period in the future will face one question above all others. Will they repeat the mistakes that we are making right now? We are on the brink, if not already in the middle, of what future historians may call the Third World War. These are the times they will study. We are living the primary source. The doomsday clock stands at 85 seconds before midnight, and it was set before any of what you are about to see happen.
This is the Meridian Brief. My name is Fred. I have a degree in international relations and I live in Bangkok, which means right now I am watching the consequences of what I am about to explain play outside my window in real time. This channel exists because the most important things happening in the world right now are rarely explained at the level they deserve. Too shallow for the people who want to understand, too technical for the people who are just starting to pay attention. We are going to fix that. What you are about to watch is not a news update, it is a map of how the world actually works, the systems, the geography, the history, and the power dynamics that determine why your fuel costs more today than it did yesterday. This is not a fuel crisis. Let's build the map.
The truth is, we are already looking at the start of the collapse. You're watching it unfold and escalate. Gas prices across the globe rise at the mere news of it. Here in Bangkok, we still have a sense of stability. The Thai government is stepping in to stabilize the pump. It is stable for now. But this is not insulation. This is just a temporary measure. The government is standing between us and the waves. The buffers are draining fast. Its fuel funds, its subsidy mechanisms are there even before the conflict, even before the first missile was fired. Thailand has recorded 11 consecutive months of falling prices. This might sound good for the people of Thailand, and the government is telling you this is stability. But this is all but a mere illusion of it. The illusion was built on the premise of Dubai crude at $80 a barrel. We've blown past 80. We are now at 99 and counting by the minute. I visited 3 petrol stations in the past few days just to fill my car. There is a visible shortage of fuel in petrol stations, which we see disruptions even inside Bangkok itself. We rarely see any pumps run out of fuel before, and it has been the norm these past 3 weeks. This is not a good sign for things to come. This is how collapse starts, and it was already underway before the first missile was fired. Bangkok's streets have been quiet before February 28, 2026, and it will get even more eerily quiet. At the other end of Asia, Pakistan and Bangladesh have it worse. On February 27, a volunteer in Karachi arranges iftar meals for Muslim devotees during Ramadan, an ordinary act of community during the holiest month of the year. With the next day coming, a crisis that had been building for years finally arrived. Saudi Arabia has confirmed an emergency oil supply through the port of Yanbu, and that is real and it matters. But the route from Yanbu to Karachi runs through the Red Sea, the same Red Sea that has been closed to commercial shipping for months. The diplomatic assurance is genuine, but the problem is geographical. Ramadan is ongoing right now. This crisis arrived at the precise moment when food consumption, cooking fuel demand, and communal gathering are at their annual peak. The stove that cooks the iftar meals run through the same gas being rationed. This is not abstraction. That is a family in Karachi turning on the gas burner and find nothing there. People in Bangladesh are also lining up at petrol stations across Dhaka on the 5th of March. The government has already announced the crisis they face and made steps to help with the shortage, but this is not nearly enough. Bangladesh has no meaningful buffer even during peacetime. What more now? What you're watching at petrol stations today is not a fuel crisis. It is the first visible tremor of the collapse of the international order that kept energy cheap for 75 years. And nobody in the queue is being told that. In the Philippines, vehicles stretch across the block at petrol stations across Metro Manila and other cities. People lining up on foot at gas stations with their fuel containers. They cannot afford to sit in traffic and burn what little they have. This brings down the infrastructure and it brings starvation and a halt to every step it touches. Behind the lines of cars in petrol stations, behind every rationing sign and emergency powers that the government implements, lie a number that puts everything together. 17.5 million Filipinos live below the official poverty line. That's the entire population of the Netherlands living off on less than $2 per day. The official threshold is not sufficient to meet minimum nutritional requirements. The poverty line is so low that even the Statistics Authority admit that this is not enough for nutrition. It is there to skew the statistics. These are not the people who worry about diesel at the current price per liter. They cannot drive, they cannot even use public transportation. They struggle even with feeding themselves with just rice and noodles for a family of 5. These people worry more about the price of kerosene. Kerosene is a fifth of the minimum wage after taxes in the metro. But the people that need this do not even earn minimum. Rice, as a staple for the Philippines, has been climbing. The end of the 13-month reprieve has come because each truck, each power plant, each rice mill, each fishing boat runs on the same oil that is now short for all. And even the countries that export rice to the Philippines face the same problem, the same countdown. The sudden rise of fuel does not reach them through their stomach. It reaches them through their jobs. It reaches them through their health. This is not a simple problem. This is just the start of the collapse, and it just accelerated. February 28, 2026, Day 9 of Ramadan. Then the Fars News Agency reported a series of explosions in Tehran. Videos across different social media circulated, smoke rising from several parts of the city simultaneously. Israel just launched their missiles on targets inside Iran. The US Department of Defense carried out the strikes as part of the joint operation with Israel with the designation Operation Epic Fury. This is the most significant military operation in the region since the Iraq War. Multiple cities in Iran were hit by the attacks simultaneously. Infrastructure, civilian structures, and schools were hit with severe casualties. Iran retaliated with targeted attacks with missiles hitting northern Israel. They then struck US military installations across the region, including operatives in hotels and civilian structures. By the end of the day, Iran's Supreme Leader Ali Khamenei and several senior officials attending meetings at their residential compound were killed in the strikes. The IRCG transmitted warnings to the vessels in the Strait of Hormuz. No ships would be able to pass. Traffic in the strait collapsed. And this is what started the collapse of the most critical energy corridor in the world. And that was day one. The strikes were supposed to remove leadership. It was supposed to blind Iran's network of missiles. It was supposed to force them into talks before the second week. This did not happen. They just poked the anthill that has countless caverns hosting their own command. Now let's look at the interceptors the US and Israel use. They cost $4 million per missile. They can't launch just one per drone. They need more than that, and by the end of the week, they have already spent $4 billion on defense interceptors alone. The whole war cost the US $11 billion and counting in 6 days. That is not a number we should be laughing at. That is a number we should be worrying about. Critical US military infrastructure outside of America suspended its labor and delivery services on day 4. They needed the headcount somewhere else, and they need to prepare for it. And Iran just denied entry to the whole of the Strait of Hormuz with mines that cost them only $1,500. $1,500 that collapsed the world economy. Iran's president ordered the IRCG to stop the attacks, but the man who held the balance between diplomats and the commanders was gone. They didn't remove the hand on the trigger, they removed the hand on the brakes. We now need to look at the geography, why we should be scared of the shutdown of the Strait of Hormuz, whether it is full or partial. This will be the single thing that stops our world. The reality is, our world heavily relies on the oil that comes through the Strait of Hormuz. This 21 miles of pure economic backbone accounts for 20% of global oil supply and 30% of the world's liquid natural gas. And this is what comes through daily. And the refineries located inside the Persian Gulf also cannot delay their shipments. Their storage tanks isn't infinite. And the cost for us is tremendous. One refinery shutdown, and that is weeks, if not months, down the drain in order to restart operations. Everything in the world relies on these numbers. The road is shut. None may pass. We need to look for alternatives. Two routes come into mind. Both come with their own set of problems. The Suez Canal carries 30% of all container traffic in the world. That is the most important trade corridor until late 2023. To reach the Suez Canal through the Persian Gulf, we need to traverse the Red Sea. And there comes the problem. The Houthis, an Iranian-backed force operating in Yemen, have been attacking commercial vessels in the Red Sea for over a year. The same Iran that closed the Strait of Hormuz, a different choke point, but the same hand on the lever. Mother Nature offers us no consolation here. The Red Sea is framed by mountains that make any alternative land corridor impossible for years, if not decades, to engineer a solution. There are no roads to travel, no pipelines to lay. The terrain will not allow it. All four major carriers, Maersk, MSC, Hapag-Lloyd, CMA CGM, suspended their operations on this route. This is not viable. These are two choke points that are shut simultaneously for the first time in the modern era. This is not looking good for us. Let us look at the Cape reroute that economists are looking at. Just rerouting it through the Cape adds 15 additional days to each Asia-Europe voyage. This cost will not be absorbed by the companies. They never will. They move into freight rates, into manufacturing costs, into the price of every product on every shelf that crossed an ocean to get there. Each additional day at sea rots the food that comes through the sea and delays the fuel that runs the world. Our food supply lines rely on diesel. Diesel that depends on the oil the Strait of Hormuz was supplying. Each step of the line is now delayed. Each delay multiplies the cost exponentially. This is not a rerouting problem. This is the collapse of the system that we relied on for 75 years. And this is just week one. Now, the question that comes to our mind: how long does this last? This is a bitter pill to swallow, especially for someone who believed in the system that shaped their belief on the world. This is the end of cheap shipping for goods across the world. This is how our system collapses, not with bullets, not with missiles. It collapses under the weight of the oil it relies on. Crude oil and its derivatives are in every step of our society, in the roads that we drive on, the fertilizer that grows our food, the plastic that packages it, the fuel that moves it, the medicine that heals us, the clothes that wrap us. We do not simply run out of oil, we run out of the infrastructure that makes it possible. The repairs, the alternatives, they will take years, not months, years, to reroute the supply chain of this scale, to rebuild the trust that insurers need before they return to these waters, to negotiate the political settlements that reopen these crucial corridors, to construct the infrastructure that conflict and geography now made unavailable. And we watched it strangle our world on day one. This is not a crisis with a visible exit. This is a structural shift, and the world does not know it.